Hey, come look at the site.
Oh, cool. Can you download the
Gamer girl bath water.
Hold on.
When it comes to my feelings on romance in anime and manga, it's a bit of a complicated set of emotions. The funny thing is that my opinion on the genre as a whole is that I actually really like it. The reason for this being due to my belief that when it comes to writing a story, the most important aspect are the characters. Because good characters can salvage a horrible plot, but no matter how good your premise, concepts, and ideas are, it's not going to be an enjoyable experience if your characters are insufferable. And romance stories are more often than not character studies rather than plot-driven narratives, and honestly, I'm cool with that. Sometimes I just get a huge desire to watch a corny romantic comedy with every single stereotype and cliche in the book because as cringy as they can be, they're a lot of fun to watch when I really get in the mood for it. However, when it comes to the subject of how it's implemented in anime, it gets a bit more... well, here's how it is. I am of the belief that romance is an easy thing to write because there is a clear end goal to be reached, and it is that these two must end up together by the end of it. Sure, you have to settle their own personal character arcs as well, but that's something you should have already taken into account before you started your series, because no one's going to care about a romance between two pieces of cardboard. The problem, however, is that a lot of writers go out of their way to either overcomplicate it or vice versa. This is especially prevalent when it comes to how most authors in Japan like to do things. I can tell you from several first-hand experiences that the average rom-com manga can be one of the most painful experiences that you could ever go through to read, especially if it's a slice of life harem. It's really a hit or miss situation. On one hand, you could get really entertaining stuff like Toradora and Quintessential Quintuplets, considerably plot-driven rom-com series that I think are far better to read rather than watch in my opinion. Sometimes you'll get something refreshing and wholesome like After the Rain and Suredure Children, although the latter is fairly generic. The only thing that really makes it stand out is that it focuses on multiple couples instead of one. And then there's stuff like My First Girlfriend is a Gal and Domestic Girlfriend, which are just freaking dumpster fires. The latter especially. I've never seen a series blow itself in the face with so much ridiculous nonsense since Game of Thrones Season 8. I genuinely felt offended because it felt like such a waste of time. Series like these two do nothing except give you a high blood pressure and slowly melt every brain cell you have. You know, assuming you have brain cells. If you don't, then you probably like this crap. What am I stalling for? You read the title. You know what's up. You know what I'm leading up to. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Rent-A-Girlfriend, the anime to guarantee you so much frustration you'll be completely bald and toothless by the end of it due to yanking them out of pure unyielding rage. Alright, I'll hit the brakes on the insults just for a second, but I'll be back with a bigger belt for you in a second. So what's the story actually about? Let us pull out the synopsis. Dumped by his girlfriend, emotionally shattered college student Kazuya Kinoshita attempts to appease the void in his heart through a rental girlfriend from a mobile app. At first, Shizuru Mizuhara seems to be the perfect girl with everything he could possibly ask for. Great looks and a cute, caring personality. Upon seeing mixed opinions on her profile after their date, and still tormented by his previous relationship, Kazuya believes that Chizuru is just playing around with the hearts of men and leaves her a negative rating. Angry at her client's disrespect towards her, Chizuru reveals her true nature, sassy, temperamental, the complete opposite of Kazuya's first impression. Okay. This is a load of horse dump. Let me just fix this real quick. Dumped by his girlfriend, fucking loser, of a college student, Kazuya Simpnoshita attempts to appease the void in his heart by paying for a woman like the simpy. Okay, back to abusing it. If it wasn't clear enough, I hate this show. And I already know a huge portion of the fanbase watching this video are already slobbering on the keyboard going, "Impatient dick. It's not even finished yet. How can you judge it? This guy is hating on it before giving it a chance. It's not the series' fault. The anime ruined it. The manga's way better." And to that I say, fuck off. The anime might not be finished as of the time of this recording, but that doesn't matter because I went ahead and read the manga all the way from chapter 1 to the latest chapter. I was originally just supposed to read until I reached a decent point to which the anime was probably going to end at, but holy crap, this series was such an infuriating mess that I just couldn't stop. There was so much anger welling up within me that I decided I needed to just tear this shit to pieces. So prior disclaimer, I will be shitting on the story, characters, and possibly the author himself. I normally try not to do this because as an aspiring writer myself, I don't want to discourage people from the art by sending personal attacks. Therefore, I'll try to keep my ill thoughts towards the mangaka in check and deliver criticism that's constructive, even though I've never had a bigger urge to strangle any author before this. So, let's start off with the first thing. I don't think I have to tell you that the synopsis gives off the biggest red flags considering the age we're in right now. The writing is, in simple words, pretty consistent. But in a bad way. What does that mean? Well, I'm glad you asked. When critics say they want consistent storytelling, that more often than not means that they want the rules established in the story to be abided by. Here's an example of a good implementation of this. In Avatar: The Last Airbender, it was explicitly stated that waterbenders are at their strongest when the full moon is in full swing. This is not just told to us through weak exposition, it is shown on multiple occasions to deliver the message that these rules fucking matter. This works as both as a power boost and at the same time a limiter. For one, they're going to be able to tap into their full potential whenever the moon's out, but the fact that their most OP technique is only possible during this interval of time prevents them from becoming broken fucking hacks. This was why it was such a stupid thing to do when The Legend of Korra introduced a douchebag that doesn't need the moon. But that doesn't count as bad implementation because that's an entirely different show that will never be better than the original. Ever. Also, here's an example of no consistency in the show. So that's what we mean when we say we want consistency. What does Rent a Girlfriend do? Simple. It's repetitive as fuck. Apparently when the author heard consistency, he thought it meant just repeat the same shit over and over again. Every 5 or 6 chapters is just a repetition of the same string of story threads. Kazuya does a cuck move, he has to go out with someone, the background characters fawn over the female every fucking time because the Sims who watch this show have dreams of having a hot girlfriend that makes strangers on the street jealous. And then they end the date smiling with no progression in their relationship whatsoever. And that's it. That's literally all the story is in Rent a Girlfriend. The only thing that really changes is the girl that Kazuya goes out with. Because harems, am I right? Does this shit make you happy? You fucking creeps? And don't get me wrong, plenty of other harem rom-com anime that I enjoyed are repetitive in their own right. In Yuna and the Haunted Hot Spring, every problem, literally every problem, is solved because the guy pulls some hidden skill by the end of the arc with the excuse that he learned it from another ghost off-screen. Nisekoi's repetitive nature was found in the fact that every story arc is just revolved by Raku being an overly nice guy. No matter how much he hesitates, whines, and acts like a little bitch, we all know his selfless personality is going to win over, and in the end, he's going to deliver some dumb friendship speech before stepping up to the plate. And also, you can pretty much instantly tell that any story arc involving anybody but Onodera and Chitoge was fucking pointless because none of these girls had any semblance of a chance in the first place. But you know what made these shows just a bit more tolerable than Rent a Girlfriend? It's the fact that despite all that, at least it tried to add some semblance of variety in it. Not to mention that the settings were so extravagant and over the top that something as simple as a date can be made entertaining. Rent a Girlfriend has none of that. The dates are painfully mundane and vomit-inducing. The fact that the characters involved are insufferable only made it worse. Hey look, what a smooth transition to the next topic. Well, no use beating around the bush about it. I hate them. Every single one of them. I initially liked Shizuru, but even she's starting to get on my nerves in the manga. But for the sake of this video, I'll only talk about the time when I actually liked her, if only to give me something positive to bring up about this series, but we'll get to her in a bit. For now, I have words for this man. Kazuya is without a doubt the biggest problem I have with this show. There is not one thing I like about him. I've seen a lot of bad protagonists in my time, but holy crap, I can't remember the last time I've wanted to literally punch a fictional character in recent time. He's the worst main character of the season. There's a new season of SAO airing right now. Kirito is in full blast, and I still hate Kazuya more. Mainly because he's a fucking idiot. This is the dude that after getting dumped by a girl he's only dated for about a month, decided to throw away his dad's hard-earned cash to pay for a woman to spend time with him. No sex or anything. He's literally just paying her money so she'd enlighten him with her presence and not act disgusted for a few hours. Pretty pathetic, but still, you know, it's whatever. It's a really stupid thing to do, but not too big of a deal. and then he gets mad that she has other customers who like her. Did you not know what you were signing up for? The website didn't lie to you. The deal was you give her money and she showed you a fun time. You yourself admitted to having a good time during the date. Why the fuck are you getting so bitter because she's just doing her job? He's literally one of those simps who donate to the Twitch thoughts and then get angry when they find out they're married or in a relationship. So we've established that he's a really pathetic guy and kind of an asshole because he gave her a bad score out of spite. Whatever, that's the end of it. And then he rents her again just to publicly shame her. For doing her job! For providing him the service that he himself paid for!
You are a cunt, but if that's thinking cunt, say it ain't true when you tell me you're motherfucking cunt.
I was originally gonna use that song for a bit about mommy, but then I realized she's not even worth a segment. Literally, there's nothing to say. She's just a two-faced bitch of an ex-girlfriend that's a cunt for no reason. It seemed as though she was going to get a backstory, but it looks like even the author forgot about her because at some point she just disappears. But back to Kazuya, I think one of his biggest problems is that he never freaking grows as a character. If you've seen my video when I talked about Kaguya-sama, which if you haven't, please don't. But if you've seen it, then you know that I think the thing that makes a character go from okay to good is the quality of their character development. Again, something Kazuya does not have. I say that as someone who is caught up with the manga. He's literally the same pathetic asshole cuck that he was from the beginning. The only thing that's really changed was the target of his simping, which was shifted from mommy to Shizuru. Motherfucker straight up said he'd financially support her without expecting anything in return except for a few hours of her time. I've seen quite a number of complaints about the anime not doing the manga justice, and I disagree. If anything, I think you should be thanking the anime for making him look less shitty because after all, they cut out the part where he blackmails her to come to the hospital with him. Yeah, in case you didn't know, remember how Shizuru doesn't want anyone to know about her job, which is a fairly reasonable request? Early on, Kazuya had used that to threaten her to go to the hospital with him and pretend to be his girlfriend. I've also seen a lot of people phrase this show as being realistic and that if you hate Kazuya, then you probably see a little of yourself in him. And my response to that is that if you honestly believe any functional human being would ever act this pathetically, then you might only be thinking that because that's how you act. Please seek professional help. Okay, moving on to Shizuru. As mentioned, I used to like her. She's the only sensible character in this entire show, and I was entirely on her side. Not only was her outbursts of anger towards this cuck completely justified, but she's constantly being the bigger person and helping him out in the end because she's not only mature enough to do that, but she's really nice too. She's honestly too good for him, but we all know that's her fate. She's an incredibly hardworking, responsible, and smart girl that the more you understand her situation, the more you realize just how tough of a person she is. And she's able to have all these traits without being a Mary Sue. She does have her own insecurities as well as moments of weakness and doubt. She's just got good enough head on her shoulders to not show her vulnerability to a fucking loser that she knows isn't reliable. Not to mention someone who used her secret as fucking leverage. As for the other characters, most of them are just meh. I don't necessarily hate them, but I definitely wouldn't care if I never saw them again. Sumi is... I mean, she's okay, I guess. Depending on my mood, she can either be very cute or really boring. The way she fell in love with Kazuya was incredibly stupid though. No denying that. I mean, come on, you developed feelings for him because you saw him simping to your friend? Do you have an NTR fetish or something? Speaking of stupid ways to fall in love, hey Ruka, she's fucking annoying. Honestly, a part of me wants Kazuya to end up with her so Shizuru doesn't have to end up with his dumbass, but another part of me wants Kazuya to brutally reject her so she can stop shoving her presence into other people's fucking business. She's just a giant brat. It got so bad to a point where when it came her turn to have 4 or 5 chapters focused on her, I was just skimming through the whole thing. Just end my fucking suffering!
いいじゃないですか。私だって。
You shut the fuck up!
Also,
you shut the fuck
let me
up!
get you a little bit.
You shut the fuck up!
I don't think there's really a need to talk about the production value, like the art or animation and all that, because honestly, I think if something like that matters that much to you to the point where you can't watch something that's not throwing sakuga every 5 minutes, then you're pretty shallow and obviously not the kind of person I'm aiming for in my audience. But if you must have my opinion on it, I think it's meh. It's pretty generic, all things considered. Definitely not the worst thing I've ever seen, but I've seen much better. Now for the thing that actually matters. Is it worth watching? Obviously not if you're someone with my taste and standards. I've watched plenty of shows that I've hated until the very end, but I usually get used to the awfulness to the point where it doesn't really bother me that much. But with Rent-A-Girlfriend, it never got more tolerable. If anything, it got more insufferable to sit through as time went on. Keeping up with the manga has felt like a weekly torture session that I dread going through every time. But with this video finished, I'm finally free. I no longer have any reason to keep reading it. Which is why I'm still going to do so, because I fucking hate myself. If you want my honest opinion, then I suggest staying away from harem rom-coms in general if you're a casual viewer. There will never be an anime that will finish the story. It's just too fucking long for a repetitive story with a mundane setting to keep the audience's attention to earn more seasons, taking 100 chapters for the main couple to get along, another 100 chapters to develop feelings for each other, another 100 chapters to realize their feelings, and then finally 300 chapters for them to confess. Making sure it's at the end of the manga, of course, so that you don't have to show any bits of their relationship, because that would actually be an interesting thing to see. Why do I like this shit? Fuck me.